fear on the Denver Broncos, and where do the Cowboys hold an advantage? Now, this is normally, Corey would say a similar thing. He fears no one, and I'm playing scared, and I will readily admit.
You coward.
Yes, I am a coward when it comes to stopping Nick Bonito. So my question, across the board, who do you fear on the Broncos, and where do the Cowboys hold an advantage? For you, does it start with Nick Bonito?
Yes, it does. I think that's a totally fair evaluation. I am worried about the tackles in this one. And look, Brian brought this up in his breakdown yesterday, and make sure, just to plug, the G-Bag Nation 340, he's going to be breaking down the Broncos defense today in Krusty's Corner. But he did mention, and it was a good point, when you look at the defensive line with Zach Allen, DJ Jones, and John Franklin Myers, they're all big bodies. And the Cowboys' offensive line struggled against Carolina in that front with Derek Brown and Ashawn Robinson and company, and they were big bodies. Right, so now you've got Booker back, and there's a possibility BB could play. I think that is going to help, but that is an area of concern because I did not think Brock Hoffman had his best game, and when they're trying to pull the pulls and the traps, and they'll do that with Tyler Smith, then you've got the responsibility of the center and Brock Hoffman to have to switch and block down, and I did not think that he did a great job of always communicating and passing off his responsibilities, and then also just being out of position or maybe being a tick late, and now Ashawn Robinson was able to come up field and break down and sniff out a run play.
Can I ask you a quick question about that? Because we talk a lot about offensive line. I mean, some people will say just put out your best five. Other people will agree with that, but they're like, there can be some nuance to it depending on how the relationships are and how people gel together. Did you think Hoffman being apart from TJ Bass had a negative impact?
I thought they ran the ball really well last week.
Okay.
So no, I don't think it did, because I think Tyler Booker is a better player than TJ Bass is. I mean, quite frankly, the game before, I did not think TJ Bass played great. I know the PFF, pass protection was totally fine.
Yeah.
But just in the run game, I thought he was on the ground a lot, and he is a guy that I know athletically, I got Dawson tried to throw out there maybe the backups were better than the starters. And then he pulled up TJ Bass's athletic score in college. And we know that Booker's athletic score, the RAS, was not good. Well, TJ Bass was also a tackle in college, not a guard, so that's going to be a little bit different there. But no, I think that you're now, especially if BB plays, you're better equipped in the middle because they're better power players, those three inside there with Smith, BB, and especially Booker to be able to fortify a front like that. But to go back to your original point, I am worried about how are they going to be able to contain Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonito. And that's a big ask for Guyton and Steele.
Because if you want to focus on just Bonito, 8 sacks for 7 games of the year, but probably more terrifying is the fact that Denver is far and away the most effective at getting to the quarterback this year. They have a league-high 34 sacks. That's the most by any team through 7 games in 12 years. And that's the terrifying part, because I know I started with Nick Bonito, but whether you're mentioning Cooper or anybody else, it is not by any means a one-man show. And you just said Guyton and Steele.
Let's get ready to take off half the Cowboy fans, shall we? Are you so confident right now in the way Dak Prescott is playing that it's okay? Dak's going to mitigate this because his numbers, and he has played so well under pressure. His pocket command and awareness and his ability to slide and step over has been so much better. I mean, we saw it in the Green Bay game, right?
Yes.
They did get pressure. Micah was getting after him quite a bit. Other players along that defense front, not Rashawn Gary, but he was under pressure and was able to navigate the pocket. This is going to be a big task for him. And one thing that Guyton and Steele do well is even if they're going to get beat to their spot, they'll at least be able to drift the edge around the quarterback to allow Dak a step-up lane to throw the football. So this is going to be a big... Look, Dak's playing, I think, at the best level of his career. There's Cowboy fans out there that are always going to say, he can't win in the playoffs. He's not it. I get it. And we can have that conversation, hopefully, when they're playing in January.
Right.
But right now, and we've seen Dak be good in the regular season, Dak's going to need to be the man that can mitigate this, because I think, without question, the Broncos are going to get pressure. I don't trust Guyton and Steele to be able to hold up. And there's things that they can do, whether that's have the sniffer, Lipke helping up Brevin Spann-Ford, the tight ends, being able, maybe they go with 6 big linemen. Maybe now you have Nate Thomas coming in, or Hakeem Adeniji, or somebody else to help as well.
Do you think they'll put Schoonmaker in a position to be able to make blocks that are not poorly schemed for him?
God, I hope not. I mean, if it were me, no disrespect to the Schoonmaker family, if you're listening, I love you. But
feels like it's about to be.
He wouldn't be on the team anymore.
Wow. Who else do you want to cut?
Mozzie.
I figured you'd say that.
Diggs.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to cut Diggs.
Kyle Yeomans.
No, not Kyle. We need him for tomorrow.
God, I can't stand Kyle.
How do you feel about Nate Thomas versus, I know you said, what's that?
What?
How do you feel about Nate Thomas? And then I'm not saying like eventual ceiling, because I know we all have high hopes still for Tyler Guyton, but just immediately you still like Tyler Guyton over Nate Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I think Steele's been awesome out in space in the run game. Like him and Brevin Spann-Ford, they've got something special there. But if you are in a salary cap crunch, I believe, and we talked about this, I think, this past year, you can save some money if you moved on from Steele.
Yeah.
I think Terrence Steele does a lot of things well, and he probably gets a little bit of a bad rap at times. But I think moving forward, I would kind of love Guyton and Nate Thomas to be my tackles.
Ooh, okay. You slide Nate over to the right side?
Yeah, or I mean, look, if Guyton, I think Guyton played well last week. I think he's shown great strides and improvement at left tackle. I think he's going to be fine there. But he did play right tackle, at Oklahoma. So if you wanted to, you could also eventually, if you decided Guyton doesn't end up by the end of the year making the strides at left that you wanted him to, you could kick him over, and now he's your right tackle and Nate Thomas is your left.
Now, the thing that fascinates me about this Denver team defensively is, I know it's easy to say how good they are defensively because EPA, they're top 5 just absolutely across the board. However, you look at that Jets game and you're like, holy crap, this is the best defense in the history of football. Hyperbole, people. And then you look at this last game. They have busted coverages. They had missed tackles. Tyrone Tracy just ran all the way, or was able to cut all the way through the middle without being touched. And Daniel Bellinger, the tight end for the Giants, he hadn't done jack S all season. He had more yards by halftime than he did in the first 6 games combined. So I realize we're still taking big picture, and I absolutely think this is a very, very good Denver defense. But then you look at, especially the first 3 quarters, actually probably the whole game, against the Giants. What the hell happened there? Because they looked very pedestrian in that game.
They did, and they did run the ball all over them. Yes. I think that Dart did a good job running around Scadaboo and Tyrone Tracy. Both their offensive line for the Giants, surprisingly, was in. I think the missed tackles had a lot to do with it. I don't know that they're going to be. It might have been your opponent a little bit there. They could have said, this is the Giants, and we're not really, we don't respect our opponent here. Well, they certainly did come the fourth quarter, and they went ahead and put up 30 points there. But, yeah, the Denver defense hasn't been as good as I thought they were going to be. Some of the analytics and the stats that I've seen come out in regards to Patrick Surtain II and Riley Moss have been really good. I love the matchup of George Pickens and Riley Moss, especially down the field. Riley Moss, according to Next Gen Stats, has been one of the best cover corners in all of the NFL this year, number 31 out of Iowa. And he's a white corner. Shocking. But I do think that
DeJean changing the world.
That could be the mark right there. If I get Riley Moss on George Pickens, I'm throwing the ball down the field. And I don't think Riley Moss can run with Pickens. I think there's a size advantage for Pickens. And then the ability to move CeeDee Lamb around. Jahdae Barron is interesting. I loved Jahdae Barron coming out of the draft, Texas corner. I think Jahdae Barron would be the guy that I would actually have Barron matching up with CeeDee Lamb, then have PS2 travel with George Pickens. Yeah. If I were Vance Joseph here, that's how I would play this. I don't know what Denver's going to do, but I do think...
What do you think they're going to do?
I think they're just going to end up sticking with their sides. Okay. I don't know if they're going to... And if they traveled, I think they would do PS2 versus CeeDee Lamb. But also, I don't know how much. I'd have to go back and look. How much does he kick inside and play the slot corner? I think he's mostly playing outside on the boundary. But there is something about, on paper, this Broncos defense feels better than they've performed at times this year. They've definitely given up, to your point, points and yards.
Yes. Bo Nix is...
Was that a terrible answer?
No, not at all. Bo Nix...
I felt very passive.
I was doing my Cooper Flagg impersonation for the first half yesterday.
Interesting.
Sorry, too spicy. Topps
lovely.
basketball comes out today. I'm really excited. All right. So on the Bo Nix front, it's kind of funny because we talk about like it's a week by week league, but it was a quarter by quarter league last week. And Bo Nix, like, they didn't just fall into a hole where they had no points in the first 3 quarters by happenstance. He was missing receivers left and right, and it was just problematic. But then you flip the switch, and like you said, maybe they were playing down to their level of opponent. Lord knows the Cowboys would never do that. But in the fourth quarter, Bo Nix, 16 for 24, 174 yards. But I think what's most terrifying, especially because we always will talk about defensive backs, he connected with 7 different receivers in the fourth quarter. What is your thoughts about not only Bo Nix, the quarterback, and that's all fine and well, but like his ability to spread the ball out and how that could be problematic for the Cowboys?
Well, I think that he's a guy that is, if you can get pressure on him, and again, that's the big question. Can the Cowboys find a way to get pressure? The answer is most likely no. But he's definitely going to look at his first reader, and if it's not there, he's going to take off and run. So that's really my bigger fear with Bo Nix. It's not necessarily spreading the ball around. It's his ability to take off like we saw week 1. Like I'm nervous about week 1 Jalen Hurts, where he didn't really even test the Cowboys secondary much, but all of a sudden it's 3rd and 8 and he scrambles for 11. You know, that's what I'm worried about when it comes to Bo Nix. I'm a big Marvin Mims Jr. fan. I'm biased. I got to cover him at Frisco Lone Star locally. I love him. I think he's a guy that is going to create problems, and I don't know if it's ready. You got to be physical with him. So Reddy Stewart's going to have to be physical. You got to get a jam at him in the line. Maybe it's Deron Bland. They started playing him more.
You think Reddy can be physical, though, right?
He absolutely can. Yeah, 100% he can. And then Courtland Sutton, I mean, I don't mind the matchup. Like, Kyrie Elam's gone against him before, and I think Courtland Sutton has had a lot of success. So did really everybody in the AFC against Kyrie Elam. We'll see if Diggs even plays. But they do have weapons. Like, Evan Ingram was always a guy, I remember, and even when you guys were at night, when you had Brian on, and it was the Giants week. Yeah. Well, who did we talk about? Evan Ingram, right? Yeah. But it never ended up happening.
Right.
And the Cowboys versus tight ends this year, I mean, Zach Ertz just scored a touchdown. It's like Evan Ingram is actually the guy underneath. I'm nervous about him and being able to kind of crush the Cowboys, dink and dunk style.
I know that we just talked about how effective the Cowboys' passing offense could be. You also have 2 of the more efficient running backs out into a offensive line running back war of attrition at all.
Sure. And I think Javonte Williams, buckle up, baby. I'm hoping he goes out there and...
Okay, and I know he's like, I'm not really calling it a man of few words. Game. Yeah.
But it's a revenge game. You know it is.
Okay.
And J.K. Dobbins on the other side, he totally leaned into it against the Chargers and had a pretty darn good game for Denver.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is. I mean, you're going to have a physical, and I think the Cowboys are going to be able to get the running game going. I think offensively, I mean, this is really what it's going to come down to. You've got your 2 elite units, Denver's defense, Cowboys offense. I mean, you could argue the other side of this, like, okay, how well is the Cowboys defense able to slow up Denver at all? I think we kind of go into it with low expectations. The Cowboys if they can't run the football, they have no chance in this game. So Javonte Williams in this running game are going to have to show up, or else it's going to be a long afternoon. In the history of the Cowboys in Denver, not good.
See, you say that, but let's remember the last 4 times the Cowboys beat the Broncos, it was on their way to the Super Bowl. So,
and Denver's wearing those orange crush unis. You know what they wore in the Super Bowl when the Cowboys beat them? Oh,
that's right.
The orange crush unis.
Crushed them. Have I painted myself into a corner where if we win, I have to come back on Monday and say we're going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you better be. The rest of the year. You know the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. You said it right here. They're not losing the game. Never lost.
Man, I do feel like that's how people hear the things we say sometimes.
100% they do.